We are making excellent progress with Unit 1 of the Carver course. Very next criteria is to look at the types of information that should be made available to learners and others involved in the assessment process. Okay, the first criteria is standards and criteria for the assessment. So we have covered this quite a lot already, and as we know, it's best practice to let our learners know well in advance of the assessment what standards and criteria their assessment is going to be based on, of course, and also to let your colleagues know perhaps where your learners are at with a course or qualification, whether they are on track with their assessments as well. So best practice is, of course, to let them know, to be clear, and furthermore, in terms of assessments, to keep them simple. Don't focus on too much of a criteria, okay? Perhaps focus on one or two sort of key aspects, okay? If an assessment's 20 minutes or half an hour long, that's fantastic. That's a reasonable amount of time. An hour is okay, but anything after an hour could be very, very detailed, and that could put a lot of pressure, stress on the learner as well. Okay, so keep it simple is my advice. The next section is types of evidence required and methods to be used as well. Okay, so we need to think about the assessment method, whether it's perhaps going to be a written response or perhaps a multiple choice questionnaire, an observation, and thinking about the evidence as well. Okay, what evidence is going to be rendered by the learner, okay, and is it going to be sufficient as well? Okay, so once again, collaboration with colleagues, managers, and also awarding bodies to find out about what is the best assessment method for you. Okay, perhaps within your assignment you could talk about what methods you're going to be using and what evidence that your learners are going to produce. Okay, so perhaps mention that within the assignment. Furthermore, we have practical arrangements as well. So very important, we consider things such as room bookings, equipment, resources, are they charged, for example, thinking about the time, the date, the duration of the assessment, the environment, of course, all of those elements are going to be done within practical arrangements as well. You might be quite lucky and have someone within your organisation who perhaps takes care of that, perhaps a facilities manager, but it is very much down to you, the assessor, to really organise and communicate when assessments will be taking place. Furthermore, we have the feedback process. We need to think about how feedback is going to be given to the learner, where it's verbal, written, both, of course. It's best practice to give verbal feedback as soon after the assessment as we can, okay, and also perhaps a typed report which is sent to the learner, so they have it for their records as well, and also perhaps targets for them to work on. Finally, assessment outcomes and records as well. So after the assessment, who do you need to inform? Perhaps a manager, a colleague, and also how assessment records are going to be saved, stored, and also updated as well. Okay, so very important that ourselves as the assessor, we need to be aware of perhaps any databases that need to be kept live and updated, and also who to inform as well. So for this assessment criteria, we'd like for you really to think about what is important to involve the learner and others within the assessment process, and also think about your own experience as well. So we'd like for you to write some current or perhaps some future examples on how you are going to do this.